Good morning, Stetson. It's so nice to see you today.
Hey, good to see you too. How we doing?
We're great. So this is number 2 in our series of the Fireside Chats, getting to know the ECO senior management team. And today I'm joined with Stetson Schaible. Am I pronouncing that right, or is it
Schaible, like a bull who is
Schaible?
afraid of. Yep, he's a shy bull.
Schaible, but you just need to know the name Stetson because that's super memorable. And he's our general manager for our Eco Solutions division, which is a division of Land Betterment. I'm Stephanie Conzelman. I'm the Stakeholder Engagement Director for Land Betterment. And today we're going to have a chat with Stetson and hear some of his thoughts about eco. So our first kind of question, and we met prior to this, so I kind of have some ideas of where Stetson's going to go with this. But when we talked, he told me he had a really interesting background. He's been a cattle rancher and a high-level motocross athlete. He's also been a construction project manager, just to name a few. But what really came out of that conversation was grit. Stetson exemplifies grit. And I would love for you to share kind of like some of the experiences, the grit experiences, and how they've helped you and are helping you manage our Eco Solutions division.
Sure. Well, first of all, I really appreciate that. Being a hard worker and being a smart worker and having that determination and gut grit is something that's really important to me. So I really appreciate when people recognize that. I put a lot into that. So, and I try and show that to the team because I don't think I'm special in any kind of way. I think I just learned at a young age that working hard matters and it matters to the people around you. So, yeah, I just think that growing up the way I did on a cattle ranch and around, a lot of family businesses in town, just kind of showed me in a very relatable way the value of that work ethic,
What
and
state
also
was
the
that in?
Arizona, northern Arizona.
Okay.
So I really could see the value of working hard and how it benefited the people around you, and that's how you can show that you care about people is taking care of them and working hard. So that's kind of where that comes from, and that worked very well in my motocross career as well. It's an extremely hard sport. It's a little bit lesser known sport. Most people think like you're getting on this mechanical thing and it's doing all the work for you, but really it's like riding a 250-pound gorilla for, depending on your discipline that you compete in, anywhere from 30 minutes to 3 hours. So if you can imagine like jumping on the back of a gorilla and riding it for 3 hours, that's kind of what it's like.
No, I can't.
So
And I watched some of the videos of one of the motocross racers that we actually sponsored during the season. And I was like, oh my God, how do they do this for so long?
yeah, it takes incredible focus while you're on the motorcycle, which requires a lot of mental strength. And a lot of guys now are starting to focus on that instead of just physical training.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of physical training, a lot of discipline, a lot of grit because, halfway through a race, you could have a mechanical issue that makes it hard to ride your bike. You could have a cramp, a physical issue. And the lessons that taught me, other than life is for enjoying, so don't work yourself to death because then you can't ride motorcycles. The other lesson that taught me is like sometimes when you're in the middle of something, it can get hard, but that's okay because you can get through it. And just learning ways to be adaptable because I'm in a motorcycle race. I mean, sometimes you got to be adaptable instantaneously and then hold that adaptation for another hour. And so
Right.
you just can't crumble under that pressure. That's really what that taught me.
And you probably need to be adaptable when you're not ready to be adaptable and be adaptable in ways that you weren't planning on, which is kind of a theme here at Land Betterment.
Yes.
And Eco Solutions, we're trying things that people haven't done before. And that's not always easy. And in speaking with you prior to today, I think you look at things a little bit differently and you're not afraid to think out of the box and try something new. Sometimes we call that visionary. So I would love for you to share, some of your visionary ideas or how that's led to where we are today with eco. We have so many different offerings in, commercial and residential and crisis recovery and recreation. And I would imagine that you're a big part of that. So if you could talk about your vision, or you're thinking out of the box, we'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah. So, it all again comes down to background. My big story here is I believe like the way my life has meandered me to this point has kind of set me up perfectly to fulfill the role here at Eco. I worked in commercial construction for years. Started out literally just sweeping and painting the backside of fences that guests couldn't see because I was so bad at painting, and worked my way up to managing some of the largest and most complex construction projects in the world for some pretty big companies. And so that forces you to get creative, right? That forced me to figure out ways that even if I didn't have as much experience, if I didn't have as much education, or some of those same opportunities as other people that I was competing for, a certain role at a new project or competing with other contractors for work, I had to figure it out. And then once I got on those really complex jobs that I had the goal of getting on, then the challenge was, okay, I've only been, an assistant project manager for about 5 minutes. So how do I deliver to one of the, Disney is one of the most complicated businesses in the world and high expectation businesses in the world. How do I deliver them their expectation? At my level of experience, you got to get creative. You won't last on a theme park project unless you're creative. Obviously, the whole point is creativity.
Right.
So that's where I learned a lot of that. And then working with the military to provide special operations aircraft to our foreign partners. That's a whole other type of creativity. A lot of technical creativity and financial creativity to give those customers exactly what they need, to defend their countries. And I think that set me up really well for what we do here, because what I always dreamed of being able to do was control the process a little bit better and bring so many things in-house that we didn't have a dysfunctional level of control where sometimes you could have gridlock and some brain lock and groupthink, but where we could bring in people that have lots of different types of experience and bring their perspective. Like, you would never, ever think that a team consisting of people from finance, automotive manufacturing, commercial construction, residential cabinet making, we have a commercial electrician, we have just about every industry you could think of. We have them at Eco, all the way from our newest employee all the way up to Pete. We basically, none of us have done the same thing. What it allows us to do is, sometimes I have blind spots being from commercial construction. I think of building things kind of one way, even if, in that realm I was very creative. I may not build it as fast as maybe Pete could think to build it because he's from the manufacturing world. And maybe Pete can't think of, all the different permitting things, to work with the government that I can, or contract things, because I had to write many contracts for, the government when I was working with them in military programs. And so it's just a really cool opportunity to think outside the box in ways that I always thought thinking outside the box, just in my experience, was great. But being able to have somebody from the other end of the spectrum, really, it's not even thinking outside the box, it's thinking outside of the planet.
Oh, that's
it's
cool.
really
And that's why we've been able to delight so many of the customers with our creativity and our adaptability, and being able to build things so quickly and customize the way they've wanted it to be. So what excites you most about what you're doing at Eco, where Eco's going? I don't know, something that you've done at Eco. Like, I don't know, like, give me 2 or 3 things that are super exciting that you can share with the public.
Yeah, that's important. I'd say the things that get me out of bed, that get me here every day, and excite me and drive me. One, it's our innovation. So we're doing things I would say in the container space. Really, we're blowing the container space out of the water. There's other companies that are doing great things. They're wonderful. We've talked to those other guys in the industry that are kind of similar to us. They're great, but they're really good at what they do. And nobody's really doing some of these really large glaring gaps in industries that we're starting to tap into.
And I'm really glad you bring that up, because people say, oh, it's a crowded space. There's so many people doing shipping containers, but we're not doing it like everyone else. So keep going.
No, we're not. Like, sure, we build houses. There's other guys that build houses. And I would say there's guys that build incredible houses, but they don't build houses the way that we do. And there's people in the commercial space. There's competitors we have in the commercial space that I think the world of. They do amazing work that we've done some collaboration with. That they do wonderful work, but I think we do it a little bit faster. I don't think I know we do it a little bit faster because we do some unique things. We control our overhead a little bit differently than those guys as well. You know, we don't have the biggest, most incredible awe experience when you walk through our facility. But what people do realize when they come here is, wow, these guys care about value. They care about where every single dollar goes, which that translates directly to the customer. And I've had customers tell me that directly. They
And
don't
you're working out of a new facility, right? So that you've had built to be built just the way you all want it.
Yep. Even more lean. People cannot believe the work that we can do in this facility. And it's because we think outside the box. And that, again, that's what excites me. I love this new building. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty close to my house. So that's really cool.
Of course.
But because that's really cool, because I come from construction where you work in different states a lot of times. So that's really cool. But I would say the third thing is the team. I mean, that's kind of cliche, especially from a leader's perspective. But I mean it in the most genuine way possible. The team here is so dedicated to the work, but more so, the team is dedicated to great balance. Anybody that knows me knows that I talk about balance and all things. The way I set up my motorcycle, the suspension balance front to rear is critical. I can't ride my bike unless it's set up properly balanced. I try to eat a very balanced diet. I eat plenty of chocolate and plenty of veggies, nice and balanced.
Totally agree.
And that's what I love about our team. Like, we really, really care about the work and we do everything safe, right, once and on time, no matter what. That's a non-negotiable. And also, we don't work 80 hours a week. We just don't. We work very hard.
And it is cliche.
Yeah, it is.
But the world's changed a lot, and it's really hard to have an amazing team working really well together, and a team that's valued. So hats off to you and Peter Rodriguez, the president of Eco Solutions, and all of you that are making this thing, run so smoothly and so fast, developing all these really cool shipping container units. Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we sign off and go on to the next thing of our day?
I think to add a fourth thing that I'm excited about, I'm really excited about our rental villages, our eco outposts that we're going to be building all over the country.
You mean the Airbnb ones?
Yep, the Airbnbs, and we're doing long-term rentals as well. We have our first long-term renter moving in tomorrow, so that's amazing. It's a family that really needed a safe, clean, beautiful place to live, but is on a tight budget, and so we can deliver that because of the value that we build into these homes. That they're not super expensive, and so we can rent them at very affordable prices for people. And then through our partners that run the facilities where we put the houses. Like Poplar Point in Athens, Alabama, which is our first site. The operators there do a great job. They make everybody feel at home. It's a great facility with a pool and a store and a restaurant. And so it really excites me to, I can drive up to Poplar Point and I talk to the people that live in these units. I send employees to go stay in them. It's a great thing for them to do. It makes all of the super hard work way more than worth it. I mean, I already love doing it, so that's just a huge bonus.
That's neat. And I've read some of the reviews from people who have stayed in it and they really liked it. And I can't wait to see, the next campground that we go to.